What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the JEB In FLOW podcast on the Street Parking Podcast channel. Good to have you here with us, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on the streaming platforms. Welcome. A few weeks ago, we started talking a little bit about some of the cool things that are discussed in the book Flow. And I wanted to revisit that just a little bit, and then hopefully this will inspire you to investigate this a little bit more thoroughly and perhaps go seek out the book, read it for yourself. So really what I've covered already and what I'm going to cover today is probably the first few chapters, maybe the first 2 chapters, maybe the first 50 pages of the book Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. So I'm not giving too much away. I'm just hopefully giving you enough to excite you so that you will go and check out the book, because it really did inform a lot of my understanding as far as how we work and how we can use our natural behaviors and psychological, characteristics and traits to our advantage, and be aware of some of the pitfalls. So really good stuff. So basically what we talked about last time was the concept of flow. And in order to understand that, you have to understand consciousness, which by his definition is really just the intentional ordering of information. So it's not any kind of metaphysical or ethereal type thing. It's just a very simple definition: intentional ordering of information. And so to understand that, we need to understand chaos and order. So we talked a little bit about chaos and order. We understand all of that, then we can get into what is flow, which is the real-time ordering of chaos. A lot of times in high consequence environments where there's a little bit of pressure for us to do so. But you can also get into a state of flow in a very low consequence environment as well, doing very repetitive or menial tasks. It just takes a little bit more focus of your attention. So that's a little bit what we're going to talk about today, sort of jumping off of or moving beyond that last episode and the action item, which was to basically order some information from broad to narrow through sitting quietly and breathing for 10 minutes. So hopefully you did that. If you didn't, check out the action item from the last episode called Flow, which was actually like 2 or 3 episodes ago. And it's a pretty cool exercise. So hopefully what you got from that was that when you pay attention, you're intentionally directing your consciousness toward certain information, and then taking that information and ordering it in a certain way. So there's kind of 2 directions that this could go. And I should mention, as I mentioned before, but it's very circular. Whatever you pay attention to, that is going to be the bandwidth, really, of the information that you have available in whatever is within your attention. And then you order that in a certain way and allow that to perhaps influence your life, the way that you are responding to that information, etc. So that affects who you are. And then who you are might make you gravitate towards certain other things that you then pay attention to. And when you pay attention to those things, you're not paying attention to maybe what's going on over here. So what you pay attention to gets ordered inside your consciousness and further affects who you are, which then affects your attention. So it's this very circular thing. And it can keep getting reinforced if you are paying attention to things that are serving you, that are bringing positivity. You will continue to notice more and more of that. And you'll notice more and more of that. You will take it in and internalize it. And it becomes this sort of upward spiral. And it's great. It can also go the other way. So really, what is the opposite of starting with consciousness? If consciousness is the intentional ordering of information, then the opposite of that would be the unintentional non-ordering of information, which is chaos. So disordered consciousness, or some people might refer to it as unconsciousness or non-consciousness, that is internal chaos. It's disorder. So we have chaos and order. You could think of the opposite of order as disorder, chaos and disorder being pretty much the same thing. And if you sort of interchange those words, it's interesting. If you think about different phrases that use disorder, like disordered eating, eating disorder, anxiety disorder, and you replace it with chaos, I think it's very descriptive. You know, when we have compulsive behaviors, or when we get overwhelmed with anxieties, with all of this information that is not being ordered in a way that serves us, it's chaos. And we feel that sense of chaos, and we feel it inside our mind, and it a lot of times gets expressed in our bodies. So this law of the universe, this law of thermodynamics, of entropy, the tendency of things to eventually kind of spiral into chaos, unless we are consistently and continuously acting on those things, acting in a way that brings order, that brings a sense of, honestly, internal peace or harmony, some sort of reconciliation between everything that we see and experience and all of the information that we take in, and somehow we order that in a way that we can use, that serves us in a positive way. So there's two things that sort of happen when it comes to this internal chaos, when it comes to this disordered consciousness. When we have stuff like that going on internally, a lot of times what we'll try to do is arrange and organize and bring order to everything that's external. And I definitely do this. And honestly, it works to a degree. But when we do that, it's not actually fixing anything. So for example, I like to clean and declutter when I'm feeling a little sense of stress or anxiety or internal chaos. I like to give myself a haircut. When I give myself a fresh haircut, I feel a sense of calm. I feel a sense of order. And, you know, for some people, it's shopping. If it gets way out of hand, it can become much more destructive when we're eating or gambling or using drugs and alcohol and just maybe being not a nice person, right? But it's those little things when we're trying to organize the outside world, when we're somehow trying to put things into place. Some people, maybe it's like go get your car washed or whatever. I'm sure that there's something for you that you do, and you'll notice this now that you've heard me say it, where you'll try to put some sense of control onto things. And like I said, it's a temporary solution. It's not a fix. It's a Band-Aid, but it doesn't actually heal anything. The internal chaos remains. So until that internal chaos gets dealt with, no amount of external organization is going to fix it. So the way that our internal chaos gets there is also often through external means. So we allow these things that are outside of ourselves and that are beyond our control to disrupt the internal order. And maybe our initial solution to that is to get real stiff, to get real rigid, and to think like, I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'm not, and all that does is just kind of like, I'm just going to stick my feet down in the mud and I'm not going to budge. That doesn't bring a lot of internal peace. I'll give you an example of external chaos disrupting internal order. 2 examples. So we did a challenge not too long ago, and part of the challenge was to one day, you had to take 3 minutes to imagine your perfect day. And then take another 3 to 5 minutes to write it out, to describe it. So, think about your perfect day. That seems like a nice thing to do to me. Think about something that makes you happy. Think about something positive. Write it out. Man, the backlash on this thing was so gnarly. So many people like, I'm a math person. So you don't have an imagination, so you can't write for 3 minutes. But it was funny to watch that. We're funny creatures. And I'm not excused from any of this because I do a lot of weird things and have a lot of weird reactions that are semi-irrational. But one individual in particular posted later that they had imagined their perfect day, and their perfect day, and they felt guilty about it because their perfect day didn't actually include their loved ones. It didn't actually include the people closest to them, like their family. And they went to work and they were really upset and felt guilty that when they tried to imagine what their perfect day looked like, it didn't involve the people closest to them. And I think that's a really good opportunity to realize maybe, you need to take a little time for you, because obviously that's what that is suggesting. But what they said was, thanks for ruining my day. So somehow us saying, imagine your perfect day and write about it for a couple of minutes ruined their day. Now, a personal example, this is so trivial and it's so funny, and this is why I remember it. I was in a place, this is before I started to do any kind of self-reflection or personal development or any of that stuff. And I had emotions that were completely out of control. I didn't know how to manage them. I didn't have any tools. I was living with a couple of guys in San Diego, and we had to take the trash out to the curb on certain days. And, you know, we're young guys and we're in our 20s. Everything is a mess. The trash never gets pulled out. It's overflowing. It's like a Thursday. I'm supposed to take the trash out to I'm like, I'm going to get the trash out there to the curb because it's overflowing. It's everywhere. Like, they've got to haul it away. And of course, I forget or I slept in or something. And so I missed the trash pickup. And I was sitting there in the kitchen and I was like, just so annoyed because now we're going to just add even more, just pile on even more trash to this heap on the side of the house. And my roommate comes in and he's like, hey, what's up, Jeb? And I'm like, we missed the trash pickup again. And he looks at me and he's like, man, you should just let that ruin your whole day. And like laughed and walked out of the kitchen. And it wasn't the trash at that point. It was now him. It was now my roommate that, like, him saying that to me ruined my day. I was so annoyed. And honestly, I carried that with me for like I brought it up a month down the road. I was so annoyed. And he was like, you got to really learn how to let things go. And then that annoyed me. And I got even more annoyed. I love this guy. He's one of my best friends in the world. We're still friends today. But like, man, there was a time when he just knew and it was all me. It was all me because I didn't know how to deal with all of the internal chaos that was happening. And all of the external stuff had so much power over me because my internal foundation was unstable. And I like to say unstable rather than strong because it can't be rigid. Things that are rigid and tense, they snap. Stable, balanced, means that when things come in, you can roll with it. You can flow with it. You can let it come in and go right back out. So the more unstable our internal foundation is, the more we feel the need to control the external. So if you feel like there's people in your life, there's relationships, there's jobs, there's this need that like you need to control, and people aren't behaving or situations aren't unfolding the way that you want them to, and it's causing you stress, it's causing you anger and pain and frustration, that is all an indication that there is some disorder, there's some internal misordering of information that is happening inside. And that is something that you can control. And that is something that you have power over. And when you order that information internally in a way that serves you, then all of a sudden everything happening externally loses all of its power. My favorite way to think about this, because I'm obsessed with movies, as you probably already know, is The Matrix. When Neo is in training with Morpheus and they're talking about the agents and the bullets and like the bullet time, and you got to watch, I'm sure you've seen the movie. Who hasn't seen The Matrix? Anyways, there's a scene when Neo is talking to Morpheus and he says, he's in his training, and he's like, are you saying that once I'm ready, that I'm going to be able to dodge bullets? And Morpheus says, no. When you're ready, you won't have to. So when you have that internal order, that stable foundation, you don't have to dodge things. You don't have to avoid things. They'll just not penetrate. They will just stop. They won't come near you. You don't have to dodge anything. So that's what I want you to think about this week, is strengthening your internal foundation. I just said strengthen. Stabilize your internal foundation. So I'm going to give you something. If you want to make it your own and change it, make it your own and change it. But I want you, every morning this week, before you leave your house, before you get on with your day, before you start, right? Before you start the day, I want you to repeat the following statement. Today, there will be events that are outside of my control. I will encounter jerks. Things may not go my way, but my foundation is stable. I know who I am, and I choose to have a great day. Try that. Say that every morning for 1 week. And tell me, please let me know. Either hitting the hotline or hit me up on Instagram, DM me, whatever. Let me know what kind of an impact or difference that has made. One more time. Today, there will be events that are outside my control. I will encounter jerks. Things may not go my way. But my foundation is stable. I know who I am. And I choose to have a great day. Have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Love you guys. I'll see you soon.